Ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you two short stories. The first story is titled, Hosting a Banquet in the Underworld. There was a scholar named Zhai, whose wife fell ill. It happened to coincide with the Double Ninth Festival, and Zhai was invited by friends to go hiking and drink chrysanthemum wine. Early in the morning, he washed up, told his wife where he was going, put on his hat and clothes, and prepared to leave. Suddenly, he noticed his wife became mentally unclear, babbling as if she were talking to someone. Zhai found it very strange and went to the bedside to ask her what she was doing. Unexpectedly, his wife called him son. The rest of the family thought there must be something wrong. At that time, Zhai's mother's coffin had not yet been buried, so everyone suspected that Zhai's mother's ghost had possessed his wife. Seeing this, Zhai prayed loudly, saying, "Are you my mother?" His wife scolded. "You beast! Don't you recognize your father?" Zhai said, "Since you say you are my father, why are you haunting your daughter-in-law after returning home?" His wife then called Zhai by his childhood name and said, "I originally came for the daughter-in-law. Why are you blaming me?" The daughter-in-law was supposed to die immediately. 4 people were coming to take her soul, led by someone named Zhang Huayu. I begged them countless times and was granted permission to come home to visit. I also promised to give them some small gifts. Please deliver the gifts to them as soon as possible. Following these instructions, Zhai burned some paper money outside the house as an offering. His wife said, "Those 4 people have left. They spared her on my account, but 3 days from now, I will have to host a banquet to thank them. Your mother is elderly and not able to cook, so the daughter-in-law must come with me." Zhai said, "The living and the dead exist differently. How can she cook for my mother? I hope you forgive her and do not take her away." His wife said, "Don't be afraid. The daughter-in-law is only going to cook and will come back soon. I am doing this for her. She should not fear the hardship of accompanying me." After saying this, his wife fainted again. After a long while, Zhai's wife finally woke up. Zhai asked her what she had just said, but she couldn't remember anything. She just said, "I seem to see 4 people come to our house trying to take me away. Luckily, father-in-law was there, begging them not to take me and even bribing them with money. Only then did they leave. I saw that father-in-law had 2 silver ingots left in his purse and thought about stealing one for future use. But he caught me and scolded me, saying, 'What are you trying to do? Do you think you can use this?' I was so scared that I withdrew my hand and didn't dare to steal it again." Zhai, however, thought his wife was seriously ill and was skeptical of her words. 3 days later, while Zhai was chatting with his wife, she suddenly widened her eyes and stared at him for a long time. Then she said, "Your wife is too greedy. A few days ago, she saw the silver in my pocket and wanted to steal it. However, I didn't blame her much because your family is so poor. I'm planning to take your wife to the underworld to help me with cooking. Don't worry, she will be back soon." As soon as she finished speaking, his wife seemed to die, appearing lifeless. About half a day later, she gradually woke up again. She told Du Jiuwan, "Just now, father-in-law called me and told me that I didn't need to cook myself. He had already found someone to do it. I just needed to sit there and supervise." He also said that in the underworld, they prefer food that looks abundant, with dishes overflowing from the bowls and plates. I agreed to do it. When I got to the kitchen, I saw two women chopping vegetables, both wearing light blue jackets with green borders, and they called me sister-in-law. Whenever they filled a bowl or plate, they would ask me to check it. The 4 people who tried to take my soul last time were all sitting at the banquet. After the food was served and the wine was ready, father-in-law let me come back. Du Jiuwan was greatly astonished after hearing this and often shared the story with his friends thereafter. The second story is titled Marquis of Yangwu. Marquis of Yangwu, Shui Lu, was born on Shuijia Island in Jiaozhou. At that time, his father, Shui Taigong, was the poorest man on the island, making a living by herding cattle for a local gentry. There was a piece of wasteland where Shui Taigong herded the cattle. He often saw snakes and rabbits fighting in the weeds, thinking that this place was unusual. So, he asked the owner for the land to build a house and settled there. A few years later, Shui Taigong's wife was about to give birth, and it happened to coincide with a heavy rain. Coincidentally, 2 military inspectors were ordered to check the coastal defenses. They passed by Shui Taigong's house and sheltered from the rain in front of the door. At that moment, a flock of crows landed on the roof, competing to cover the leaks in the thatched house with their wings, which made the scene even more astonishing. Later, Shui Taigong came out of the house, and the inspectors asked him, "What were you doing inside just now?" Shui Taigong told them that his wife was giving birth. The inspectors then asked whether his wife had given birth to a boy or a girl, and Shui Taigong replied, "A boy." The inspectors were even more surprised and said to him, "Your child will surely be very distinguished in the future. Otherwise, why would the 2 of us be here guarding your door?" After saying this, the 2 sighed and left. When Shui Lu grew up, he often appeared dirty-faced with a runny nose, looking quite unintelligent. All the people with the surname Shui on Shuijia Island were registered in the military. One year, it was Shui Taigong's family's turn to send a man to guard Liaoyang. At that time, Shui Lu had just turned 18. People thought he looked foolish, and no one wanted to marry their daughter to him. One day, Shui Lu said to his elder brother, "Brother, you and father are always whispering. Are you worried about who will serve in the military?" His brother said, "Yes." Shui Lu smiled and said, "If brother is willing to marry your maidservant to me, I will volunteer for the duty." His brother was overjoyed and immediately promised the maidservant to Shui Lu. So, Shui and his wife set off for their post. After they had traveled only a few dozen miles, it suddenly started to rain heavily. There was a steep cliff by the roadside, so Shui and his wife ran under it to take shelter from the rain. After a while, the rain stopped, and they continued on their way. They had only taken a few steps when the cliff collapsed. Local residents saw two tigers leap from the cliff. When they approached, it seemed that the tigers merged with Shui and his wife and then disappeared. From that moment on, Shui became brave and strong, displaying an extraordinary demeanor. Later, he was conferred the title of Marquis of Yangwu due to his numerous military achievements. During the reigns of the Tianqi and Chongzhen emperors, the court established a law stating that if a marquis died, his son would inherit the title. However, if he had no son, the title would temporarily pass to a male member of the collateral family. The system also stipulated that if the wife or concubines of the titleholder were pregnant, it had to be reported to the emperor immediately. An old woman appointed by the government would then accompany and guard the pregnant woman until she gave birth. About a year after Shui was granted the title of Marquis of Yangwu, his wife gave birth to a daughter. However, after the birth, Shui's wife's abdomen frequently trembled. 15 years passed, and several elderly women appointed by the government took turns accompanying Shui's wife. Eventually, she gave birth to a boy. This boy was supposed to inherit Shui's title as his eldest son, but the collateral family objected. They argued that Shui was too old for the child to be his legitimate offspring. The government had no choice but to interrogate the women who had accompanied Shui's wife. They all confirmed that the child was indeed born to Shui and his wife. In the end, the boy was recognized and allowed to inherit Shui's title. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tales. Hosting a banquet in the Underworld and Marquis of Yangwu. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.